everyone, it's Lisa Brown with Ink and Inspirations, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and in this video I want to show you and give you some tips about this new designer Rosette die that's in the Occasions Mini from Stampin' Up! I've played around with it and tried different papers and different sizes, and I just wanted to share with you what I've learned and what's worked best for me. So first of all, you have the die. It's a Big's die, and you'll need a extended cutting plate. And then I use a 12 by 6 cardstock shim, and then I put the die, and then next I'm going to put the paper, and I'm going to show you. I cut my designer paper that is 12 by 12 in half, so it's 6 by 12, and I just cut a full piece when I'm cutting, and that way I can use the sides that I want, have the edge that I want. And this is just one way, and it was the first way I tried, and I'm going to use this extended crease pad and run it through the Big Shot. Okay. So there you see we have our piece, and it's got two beautiful bordered edges, and you just have a little bit of not cardstock, but designer paper left over. I'm going to punch out. These come out pretty easily. And you have this big piece. Now you're going to say, well, now what are you going to do with that? Well, I could use 3 of these, such as is seen here on this layout. And I found if you want to make a big rosette, 3 of the pieces of the 6 by 12 pieces that you cut is a good number to use in making a rosette this big. And then of course in the center, it's underneath here, but in the center you would use like a 2.5 inch circle punch or one of your dies with the large circle punches and hot glue it to secure it. Okay? But say you don't want it this wide. Okay? Well, what I did is I lined up this edge on my paper cutter, and you can do it on your Fiskars trimmer or your tabletop cutter, and say I wanted it 2 inches. Well, I would just line this up on the 2 and just come on out and cut it. Then you'd have this other piece you can do more with. You could use it this edge. You could use just the center without a border. And let me show you what I've done with a piece of it. This is just some retired designer paper. Okay, here I cut this off at 1.5 inches. I put this edge on the 1.5 inch mark, cut it, and this is what was left. And then I used a sticky strip to put it together, and it makes a really pretty rosette. Isn't that pretty? Okay, and say that if I wanted to use this width, okay, so you can see as I start turning it to try to form, you can see you would need at least 1 more piece cut at this width to make the full rosette, or 2, depending on how close together you want your pleats. Or say you wanted just a narrow piece coming down the center here and cutting off this edge. You just line that up on your paper trimmer and cut it like you need, the width that you need. It's really easy. Okay, I'm going to show you now what I did with a 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. What I did is I'm going to take my die again, and I'm using the same layers with the standard cutting plate, the shim, the die, and then the crease pad on top. And then I cut it at 4.25, which is just half long ways of the cardstock, and I line it up where neither edge will be cut. And really, if you want, sometimes you'll get a little bit of nick here from this design, and you can cut it at 4 and just get the straight center. Okay, so I would make that sandwich again, roll it through the Big Shot, and there I have a piece without an edge, and you can see where I have these little V's here. If I would have cut it before, it would have completely cut off that edge. Okay, that's just a matter of preference. And then you'd line this up on your paper cutter and cut it the width that you want. What I have found with cardstock, though, it's not as pliable. Naturally, it's thicker. We have good heavyweight cardstock. And so you need more than one piece to make a rosette. Now this one is, I believe I cut this at 2 inches wide. And I've got some sticky strip here. And I'm going to attach the ends like this. You want to do like an up end and then sandwich this in just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to bring around the other end. Pull the sticky strip off and sandwich that together just like that. Okay, and then you would form it together and it make a big rosette. Now see, that's 2 inches wide, cut width-wise, so you can see how big of a rosette it would make. Okay, and even on the Stampin' Up! Video, sometimes it says you might need 2 hands to make the big one. Well, I found like you need both of your hands, not necessarily an extra set, but that just folds together like that. Okay, and makes your rosette. All right. So, but if you try to do it with just one piece this wide and even smaller, even more narrow, I find that it's not pliable enough to pull all the way around. I would try 2 pieces, okay, when you're using your cardstock. Now, say for instance you have a strip of the 12-inch length of designer paper, and you wanted to cut a piece with just one of the edging, okay? One of the edgings. So I'm going to do this little scallopy end. And what I would do to cut that is not try to line it up like this, because invariably sometimes you don't get it just straight and your rosette will be off a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to cut it wide enough where I can line it up with the edge of the die. And I still have my sandwich made there. And put the crease pad and run it through the Big Shot. Okay, so there we have a rosette, or the makings for a rosette, that we can just fold on the score lines, accordion fold it. And you can see the score lines are really good. It's a little bit more difficult to do on the cardstock, naturally, because it's heavier. Okay, and then bring it around, attach it, and make your rosette. Now see, this one's a little wide. So when I start to do this, and if it does this, I would use 2 pieces. Attach them together, then make the rosette. The more narrow you have it, say like this one, you just need 1 piece. Okay, so I hope those little tips have helped you. It's really a great die. It's a big time saver, and if you just experiment with it to see the widths that you like and the weight of paper that you like, I think you're going to be really happy with it. If you have any questions, email me at lisa@inkinspirations.com. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.